Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam Sarawakku sayang. Our distinguished guests, heads of department, GATS 4.0 partners, GATS 4.0 interns, ladies and gentlemen, Good morning and welcome to the virtual launching ceremony of Graduates Enhancement Training Sarawak GATS 4.0 program hosted by Sarawak Center of Performance Excellence Scope in collaboration with State Human Resource Unit of Chief Minister's Department and Leadership Institute of Civil Service. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now live from the Chief Minister's Office, Wisma Bapa Malaysia, Kuching, Sarawak. On behalf of the host, we'd like to extend our thanks to those of you who are joining us via Zoom platform and also who join us, watching us live from the official Facebook of Unit Komunikasi Awam Sarawak, or UKAS, and UKAS channel on YouTube. We hope you are doing well and safe, inshallah. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, it is now with great pleasure to invite Al-Fadil Ustaz Haji Muhammad Ehsan bin Haji Muhammad Hazir, Timbalan Imam Besar Negeri Sarawak, to recite the doa. Al-Fadil Ustaz, please dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Hamdan syakirin, hamdan hamidin. Hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa 'azimi sultanik. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Allahumma ya Allah, pada pagi yang berbahagia ini, kami melafazkan syukur kehadirat-Mu, ya Allah, kerana atas limpah kurnia dan keinginan-Mu, maka kami dapat bersama pada hari ini. Pada kesempatan ini juga kami menadah tangan memohon kehadirat-Mu, berkati dan rahmatikanlah majlis perasmian program Graduates Enhancement Training Sarawak GATS 4.0 2021 yang akan disempurnakan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Patinggi Dr. Abang Haji Abdul ZOHARI, Pintun Datuk Abang Haji OPENG, Ketua Menteri Sarawak. Allahumma ya Allah ya Jawad wa ya Karim. Ya Allah, jadikanlah program yang diadakan ini berjalan dengan baik, lancar dan sempurna, serta berhasil segala matlamat dan tujuannya. Anugerahkanlah kepada kami sifat mensyukuri dan menghargai segala kebaikan yang kami terima daripada-Mu secara khususnya, ya Allah. Dan begitu juga segala jasa, sumbangan dan pengorbanan yang telah diberikan oleh para pemimpin kami. Oleh itu berikanlah kepada kami sifat ketaatan, bertolong bantu serta kasih sayang antara kami, pemimpin dan rakyat, dalam segala perancangan dan usaha demi kebaikan diri, masyarakat dan negeri kami. Anugerahkanlah kepada kami taufik dan hidayah-Mu, agar kami sentiasa mentaati segala perintah-Mu dan melaksanakan peranan, tugas dan tanggung jawab kami dengan sebaik-baiknya. Allahumma ya akramal akramin, ya Allah, berkat keagungan-Mu dan sifat rahim-Mu, kami mohonkan keselamatan dan kesejahteraan kami, dan juga buat pemimpin-pemimpin negeri dan negara kami. Kukuhkanlah perpaduan antara kami, mesrakanlah hubungan sesama kami, eratkanlah kerjasama yang sudah sedia terjalin antara kami, lindungi dan peliharalah kami daripada segala bahaya dan perkara yang tidak diingini, dan majukanlah negeri dan negara kami dengan inayah dan riayah-Mu yang mujib as-sa'ilin. Allahumma bika nasta'in wa 'alaika natawakkal wa anta rabbul 'arsyil 'azim. Irhamna ya Rabbana fa innaka anta arhamur rahimin. Wa sallallahu wa sallama ala khairi khalqihi sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Thank you very much to Al-Fadil Ustaz Haji Muhammad Ehsan bin Haji Muhammad Hazir, Timbalan Imam Besar Negeri Sarawak. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, today's occasion marks another significant journey of GATS program. And we are indeed delighted to have our guest of honor, the Right Honourable DATUK PATINGGI Dr. Abang HAJI ABDUL ZOHARI, Bintun Datuk Abang HAJI OPENG, Chief Minister of Sarawak, who will later share his words of wisdoms as well as to grace the GATS 4.0 program. And today's agenda, ladies and gentlemen, is mainly to encourage Sarawak's graduates, both from STEM or non-STEM background, to enroll themselves in GATS program, which is a 12 months internship platform involving various industries across government agencies, GLCs, and private sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, to learn more about GATS program, let's hear it from the Honourable Sarawak State Secretary. So please welcome the Honourable Datuk Amar Jaul Samyon to present his welcoming remarks. Dengan segala hormatnya, dipersilakan.
The Right Honourable Datuk Petinggi Dr. Abang HAJI ABDUL ZOHARI, Bintun Datuk Abang HAJI OPENG, Chief Minister of Sarawak, Honourable Ministers, Honourable Assistant Ministers, Honourable Members of Sarawak State Legislative Assembly, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, salam sejahtera, salam Sarawakku sayang. A very warm welcome to Graduates Enhancement Training Sarawak, or GETS, GETS 4.0 launching today. Today's event is organized by Sarawak Center of Performance Excellence, or SCOPE, in collaboration with the State Human Resource Unit, SHRU, of the Chief Minister's Department, and Leadership Institute of Sarawak Civil Service, or LI. The main purpose of GETS 4.0 launching is to promote this 12 months internship program to all graduates from both STEM and non-STEM background in Sarawak. Graduates Enhancement Sarawak program was launched in March 2016. It was an initiative by the Sarawak government to help unemployed graduates to be ready for the working industry with real-time training by being attached for 12 months as interns with GETS partner companies. GETS program lasted for 2 years until 2018, with a total of 109 interns absorbed by the GETS partner companies. In 2018, the Right Honourable Datuk Petinggi Dr. Abang HAJI ABDUL ZOHARI, Bintun Datuk Abang HAJI OPENG, Chief Minister of Sarawak, initiated the 5-year Sarawak Digital Economy Strategy 2018 to 2022. This plan is aimed at spearheading digital economy transformation and as the stepping stone for Sarawak to prepare for the digital economy era. It includes 15 domains and 47 strategic actions. One of the strategic actions under the domain of digital skills and talent management is Section 34, where the focus is to build, develop, and headhunt a workforce that is agile, digital savvy, and industry ready. In order to achieve this, the state government had designed a more structured approach to further cultivate the talent development strategy for graduates in Sarawak. GETS 4.0 program will contribute to this cause. Ladies and gentlemen, GETS 4.0 is a 12-month on-the-job training where graduates will be attached to selected agencies based on their educational background. It was introduced as a platform to enhance new working skills, such as English as a medium of communication at the workplace, and to upskill the graduates' competencies to be in line with the Sarawak Digital Economy Strategy 2018 to 2022 and for future workplace requirements. The first cohort kicked off in 2019 with a total number of 535 applications from both STEM and non-STEM background. After going through the required assessments, 321 had passed and were attached at the government agencies, government-linked companies, and the private sector. Cohort 2 commenced in 2020 and Cohort 3 in 2021, with a total of 301 and 437 interns respectively, being attached at various industries. The majority is in Kuching, but there are a number of those interns being attached at resident offices in every division, as well as at the digital community centers in the rural areas. From our reports, we have found that from 2019 to 2021, 20% of about 214 interns have been offered jobs by companies such as Petronas, Science, SMA, SDEC, Sakova, SEB, SEDC, LCDA, SMG, Longi, Ocean Care, and many more. 6% of about 65 interns were employed by the companies they were attached to. This means that the main objective of this program is slowly being achieved. On 6 May 2020, Sarawak government formed the Sarawak Economic Action Council, or in short, SEAC, to formulate the post-COVID-19 development strategy, or in short, PCDS 2030. We have engaged and collaborated with more than 1,000 stakeholders from 250 organizations for this plan. I am thankful to all SAC members who comprise of professionals from various government agencies, private sector, business federation and associations, professionals, academia, and individuals for their contribution in the formulation of the post-COVID development strategy 2030. The PCDS 2030 was launched by the Right Honourable Datuk PATINGGI Dr. Abang Haji Abdul ZOHARI bin Tun Datuk Abang Haji Openg, Chief Minister of Sarawak, on 22nd July 2021 as a way forward for Sarawak to become a developed state by 2030. PCDS 2030 is anchored on 6 economic sectors, namely manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, forestry, mining, and services. These 6 economic sectors will then be supported by 7 enablers, namely digital transformation, innovation, education and human capital, basic infrastructure and utilities, transport, and renewable energy. With the launch of PCDS 2030, some training contents in GETS 4.0 will be aligned with the PCDS 2030 strategic economic sectors. GETS 4.0 program had continued to receive strong interest and demand from both public and private agencies. Over the 3 years, we have received accumulatively more than 5,000 applications from graduates of STEM and non-STEM background throughout Sarawak. More opportunities will be offered to graduates to join GETS 4.0 program for next cohort, i.e. year 2021 and year 2022, to allow for more unemployed graduates to benefit from this program. Strong emphasis will be given to soft skill training for GETS interns, as it is important to develop the soft skill of interns for better employment. Processes such as presentation skills, communication skills, confidence building, and how to create good first impression in the workplace will help interns to increase their self-esteem, to develop cognitive skills, to instill the trait of not giving up when facing challenges. This allows interns to have realistic perspective of work and workplace expectation, develop problem-solving skills, making appropriate and reasonable decisions, and create the desire to achieve high work performance. Ladies and gentlemen, with this program, we are hopeful and optimistic that interns and graduates will be better equipped when seeking job opportunities. It is also hoped that the skills they obtain during internship will place them in higher income jobs as aspired by PCDS 2030. Interns and graduates should take full advantage of this program, as there are still many out there who are still looking for employment. Finally, in conclusion, I would like to take this opportunity to express gratitude to the
to introduce to you our distinguished keynote speaker for today. He is the CEO and co-founder of Naluri, a digital health startup based in Malaysia. He was before the COO of iFlix Group and CEO of iFlix Malaysia from 2015 to 2017, and prior to that, he was the CEO of Air Asia X, famously known as the Iron Man, triathlete, business builder, and entrepreneur, a positive role model he is. Thus, without further ado, live from Kuala Lumpur, please welcome Mr. Azran Osman Rani. So the screen is yours, sir.
Well, thank you very much for that very kind and warm introduction. May I acknowledge Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk PATINGGI, Dr. Abang HAJI ZOHARI, Abang OPENG, for his leadership to build up the future of Sarawak, and of course the honourable ministers, the state secretary, and the state legislative assemblymen in attendance. I also want to acknowledge and thank Dr. Sabaria and Dr. Aslina Helmi from Scope for inviting me to share my experiences with you today. Now, while you shared some of the things that I have achieved, today I also want to share with you some of the challenges and difficulties I faced when I started several companies from scratch, because being an entrepreneur is very, very hard. In fact, I've made a career out of rejections and failure. And as you can see, my lack of hair bears testament to the frustrations from pulling them all out. But rejections are fuel that fires up the determination further. So in my entrepreneurial journey, from highly regulated and capital-intensive industries like building an airline from scratch, to the fast-moving internet technology space with iFlix, to take on global giants like Netflix, and now building Naluri, a digital therapeutics application for mental health and chronic disease management. And as a fledgling startup from a small market like Malaysia, I've always tried to answer, what if, right? What if there was a different way to address the unmet need of consumers, different from industry incumbents and leaders? How do we make things much more affordable, much more accessible, and more convenient? Now, as this pandemic has shown all of us, when things don't go according to our plans and we hit unexpected setbacks, there are usually two things that hold us back. First, we are all oriented to stick to what we're familiar and comfortable. Doing something new makes us uneasy. It's risky and unproven, and there may be more downside than upside. And if we've had past successes doing things one way, it becomes harder to change to a different approach. And second, we want other people to change. We think our boss or our client or our parent or our teacher are wrong and they should change because we believe we are right. But facts don't win arguments. And expecting others to change means we surrender our fate, our happiness, our peace of mind to someone else. And since they are not likely to change, we wallow in our misery, our frustration and resentment that eats away inside of us. So I want to talk to you today about resilience. Resilience is our capacity to bounce back from failure and setbacks. And my team at Nullery developed a framework called THINK to make this concept more tangible and practical, which I'll share with you today. So take control, hopeful outlook, informed actions. How do we nurture ourselves and nurture our support network, and also knowing your goals? And if you'd like to learn more about building resilience after this, I'd like to invite you to sign up for an e-learning course on resilience, provided complimentary to everyone. Because my team developed this because many organizations say, webinars are passive when it comes to learning. Most webinar participants don't really focus on the content being presented and tend to be multitasking, doing other things at the same time. So at least with e-learning, you get to learn on your own time, consuming content and doing interactive exercises in small chunks. So all you have to do is just sign up for scope.nullery.net. Completely optional, completely up to you, but here's a QR code to the link to sign up. Or if you prefer, you can just go onto a browser and type scope.nullery.net to explore each of the 6 modules detailing the think elements, which has short videos, interactive exercises, and inspirational quotes and images. Now, as an entrepreneur, right, even when we identify a breakthrough idea and we launch quickly, the disruptor's journey is brutal. Now, as this pandemic has shown us, as I said, nothing goes according to plan. Now, in 2007, when I started a new airline, I thought that was tough enough. But every year after that proved even more challenging and unpredictable. In fact, just a few months after we launched, we were faced with the brunt of the global financial crisis in 2008, where all the banks that had committed to provide aircraft financing all pulled out. And every year after that, there was one shock after another. In 2010, there was the Icelandic volcanic eruption that closed down the entire European airspace for a week, leaving thousands of our passengers stranded in London and Kuala Lumpur. The next year, we started flights to Tokyo, and we got hit by the Tohoku earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear tragedy. And the following year, just when we started flights to Christchurch, New Zealand, the city got hit by 2 earthquakes, and we had to pull out of that market. But nothing, however, prepared us for 2014, when we had to deal with not 1, not 2, but 3 black swan events. These are events that are extremely rare, yet have a massive impact. In this case, it was March that year, MH370, a plane went missing, and it's still missing today. In July, MH17 was shot down, and then in December, QZ8501, a fatal plane crash. And although none of these airlines were the ones under me, the impact to the entire industry was brutal, with travel demand from China and Australia, our 2 core markets, plummeting by 30%, and our share price came crashing down. Now, in that crisis situation, my instinct, my naluri, was to try to act decisively. So as travel demand plummeted, especially from China and Australia, the 2 core markets that represent over 60% of our business, I wanted to make quick actions. I wanted to redeploy excess aircraft capacity by subleasing them to other airlines that need short-term capacity, like European airlines that need extra capacity for summer charter flights to the Caribbean, or North African airlines that need charter flights for Umrah and Hajj pilgrim flights to Saudi Arabia. And I felt this was a logical move because at least the excess capacity will return some margins instead of being underutilized in our core markets and bleeding cash. And yet, my board disagreed. They wanted to stay the course and not retreat from our markets. And it led me to leave the company. And for years afterwards, I was filled with anger because I felt my proposed strategy was sound and logical. But in life, facts alone don't win arguments. I had not learned to build connections and trust, to recognize that when people go through crises, the heightened stresses and emotions make them unwilling to listen to different views or try different approaches. So we need to connect before we correct. And I was too tunnel vision and strongly believed in the factual merits of my proposed strategy. So to illustrate that think framework further, I now want to share a story from my personal life where similarly, nothing goes according to plan. So in 2018, May, while I was cycling in Kuala Lumpur as part of my regular triathlon training, a car came from behind and hit me very hard, leaving me unconscious. I woke up in the intensive care unit in the hospital with fractures in my skull, bleeding in my brain, 3 vertebrae in my spine fractured, 3 of my 4 limbs were in a cast, and a broken shoulder that required painful surgery. So sometimes life knocks you down hard, and in this case, literally knocked down hard. And as I lay in that hospital bed, I was overwhelmed with emotion, fear, anxiety, depression, kemurungan. What was going to happen to me? Will I be able to lead a normal life again? What was going to happen to the new business that I had just started and the employees that I had hired? How will I provide for my family? And this accident happened just a few weeks after my wife was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and she had to postpone her thyroidectomy surgery to deal with my situation. So you can imagine the psychological trauma our family endured. Now, all of us go through these negative emotions when we face setbacks and failures. And I had to learn that there's no way I could find answers to these big questions. And so when things become overwhelming, I needed to focus on the smallest things that I could do that were within my control and put aside the worries of those bigger questions. So with the support from my family and hospital staff, I had to take control, the first element of resilience. I just focused on learning how to sit up from my bed and start to walk again. So on that 7th day, I started to take my first steps from the ward, even when one of my legs was still fractured. And as you can see, my vision, my balance was still disoriented. But this gave me momentum. I celebrated those small wins, focusing on what I can do rather than worry about things that were out of my control. I even deliberately stopped thinking about the driver that hit me and told people who asked, "Hey, what happened to him?" that I didn't want to know. And I wasn't angry at him because I want to use all my energy to heal and get stronger and not waste it on feeling angry at someone else. So I'd like to invite you now to reflect and think of a situation, either recently or in your past, where you faced a major setback or challenge, whether you felt frustrated or angry or afraid or ashamed, or some combination of these feelings. Now with momentum, I could start walking again on the treadmill from day 33 after I was discharged, and just slowly increasing the time from 5 minutes a day to 10 to 15 to 30 minutes. And by day 47, I could pick up the pace and start to run on the treadmill. Now, in my recovery journey, the joy came 2 months after that accident when I could run outdoors again, that feeling of liberation and elation. And I hope we will all soon feel this joy again once these movement control restrictions are relaxed. But change and recovery is never a nice linear growth just because you start with the right goal or with the right desire and determination. Every now and again, things came crashing down for me. I would fall back into states of dark depression. Pain would come through, and I needed medication to pull through. And I had to endure painful physiotherapy sessions 5 days a week and just needed to keep going. But eventually, I reached a big psychological milestone to get back on the bicycle and ride outdoors again with my friends on day 84, less than 3 months from that accident, because I didn't want that accident to stop me from doing things that matter to me. So momentum fuels more momentum. And with more physio sessions and training, I worked on getting my shoulder and arm mobility as my broken shoulder healed. And on day 112, I could get back a full rotation on my arm and I could start swimming again in the pool. By then, I had a specific goal in mind. I wanted to get back to Ironman triathlon racing. So I worked with my coaches and kept working on my strength and stamina and signed up for the Ironman 70.3 triathlon race in Langkawi, Malaysia that November. Now, this is important to me because being a triathlete is a big part of my identity. So on day 174, less than 6 months from that accident, I was able to complete the race and overcome the doubts and fears and thoughts of giving up throughout training and on that final run course under the scorching sun. You see, my motivation was that I wanted to tell my children, and for the parents out there, right? You know, our children do not listen to what we tell them. They learn by observing what we do. In fact, same thing with our team members, right? So the message for my children is, life will knock us down hard, very hard, and we cannot control what happens to us, but we can decide how we choose to respond. And that's why it's important to understand that our initial reactions and impulses to things that happen to us are automatic and they may limit us. And so that's H, the second resilience element, to build and maintain a hopeful outlook which can be trained. Now, why does this happen, right? Our brain is designed for one primary purpose, to keep us alive, our survival instinct, our naluri. And the way our brain does this is that it steers us towards things that are familiar, things that are predictable, things that are reliable. It doesn't like anything that's unknown or risky or dangerous, because the brain receives 50 million sensory inputs every single moment. And we can only consciously process 7 or 8. So the brain filters out everything quickly based on our gut instincts. And that is why when you meet someone new, even before that person has said a single word, your brain has already made a judgment whether you like that person or not. And these quick judgments can be limiting. The brain may tell you, oh, you cannot do something because it hasn't seen you succeed before. It tells you to just stick to doing the same things. Now, back to my origin story of AirAsia X and why it was created as a separate and independent company from AirAsia. So AirAsia, most people know as the first mover to introduce the low-cost airline model to Asia, and it grew to become the largest LCC in this region. And Tony Fernandez, the founder, brought that successful Ryanair and Southwest LCC model to this region. And AirAsia as a brand is known for being dynamic and innovative and risk-taking. But the moment it became successful, it too started to have fixed beliefs about what is or is not possible with the low-cost airline model. So in 2007, when Tony Fernandez said, hey, why are we limiting ourselves to Southeast Asia? Why don't we go beyond? Because that's a much bigger market, but that would require adapting the model to use long-range, wide-body aircraft to reach North Asia, Australia, Middle East, and Europe. And he was soundly rejected by his own board of directors and shareholders. So even when you're a tycoon or a founder, you can still be rejected. Now, it wasn't that the board members were just conservative or risk averse. They had sound, logical reasons to not pursue a long-haul expansion. So first they said, look at the global giants in our industry, EasyJet and Ryanair in Europe, Southwest Airlines in America. All of them believe that the low-cost model only works with small planes flying short distances. They perfected the art of a 25-minute speedy turnaround so that you can squeeze 8 flights in one day, while a traditional full-service airline like British Airways or Cathay Pacific only does 4 or 5. That was the basis for cost advantage. But if you go long haul, each sector, 8 jam, 12 jam, you come back another 8 to 12 hours, it's impossible to get multiple flights in a single day for each aircraft. Now, the board also pointed out two comprehensive analysis done by industry experts and management consultants who plotted the unit cost of every flight by every airline based on flight distance. And what the data showed is that the cost differential between full-service airlines and low-cost airlines essentially disappears after 4 hours flight duration. But data can be limiting, because data only exists in the past. It doesn't take into account data points that have yet to be imagined. Now, the idea of going long haul with a low-cost model is not unique. Freddie Laker tried to do it in the 1970s with cheap flights from London to New York. In the 1980s, People Express from the US tried it. And again, in the early 2000s, Oasis Hong Kong offered cheap flights from Hong Kong to London. And all of them, without fail, failed. So it was against this backdrop of negativity, when corporate leaders make strategic decisions based on industry benchmarks or analysis or past precedents, that the founder of AirAsia said, fine, if AirAsia doesn't want to do it, we'll create a new airline. We'll raise capital from private investors, apply for a separate license. And if everyone in the airline industry believes long-haul low-cost cannot be done, I'll find someone from outside the industry who's gullible enough not to know that this is an impossible undertaking. And that's where I came into the picture. So I was brought in as the founding CEO of AirAsia X with no airline industry experience. And with the capital that we raised, when we started, we could only afford one plane, just one. And yet with that one plane, we were able to operate at 1/3 the unit cost of Singapore Airlines, which was then the most cost-efficient long-haul carrier. By looking at things differently, by challenging the convention of how airline schedules flight, we could operate at 18 hours a day when traditional airlines only flew 12 to 13 hours a day, because they were catering to providing convenient arrival, departure, and connecting times for premium business travelers. And we also challenged the convention that flights must depart the same time 7 days a week. That's not important to a leisure traveler who's traveling once a year based on the lowest fare. And so by tweaking many of the conventions, our single plane achieved a 3-cent per seat per kilometer cost when Singapore Airlines was at 9 cents. Even AirAsia and Ryanair were at 4 and 5 cents respectively. So thinking differently. Now moving on. After over 7 years at AirAsia X, I left to join my friends to build iFlix, an emerging markets video on demand platform. Now, I mistakenly thought, okay, this is going to be easier, less regulatory hurdles, no natural disaster risks, or massive capital commitments. Boy, was I wrong, right? Raising money to get started was a monumental challenge. In 2015, over 100 investors rejected us. They said, what chance do 5 guys in Kuala Lumpur have to try to take on a global giant like Netflix, who was then a $100 billion market cap company with a presence in 190 countries, serving 100 million users? Now, fortunately, the 116th investor from the Philippines thought, maybe these guys are crazy enough to pull it off, and gave us the funding to start. And in 3 years, iFlix reached 20 million users across 20 markets in Southeast Asia, South Asia, Middle East, and even Africa. And of course, now it's been sold off to Tencent from China. So what did those first 100 investors miss out, right? They are from what I call the Netflix demographic. Urban Kuala Lumpur and Singapore, right? They speak English, they watch Hollywood shows, they use credit cards, they've got high-speed broadband connections for the big flat screen TVs in their living room. They didn't see a need for what they saw was an inferior technology version. But what they missed was that 80% of people in Southeast Asia don't watch English shows from Hollywood, don't have credit cards, only have a mobile phone with limited data quota and no broadband connections. So they were colored by their own biases. Now, one of the other reasons why investors rejected us, because they said, hey, even in your own local market in Malaysia, there's a dominant incumbent, right? Astro, the satellite TV giant. And for 20 years, Astro ruled the cable and satellite TV in Malaysia. Anyone who tried to take them on failed. You might remember, if you're old enough, Mega TV, Hip TV, Fine TV, ABN Access. And specifically, interestingly, when it came to video on demand and mobile television, iFlix was not the pioneer. Astro had introduced Astro on the Go 2 years before iFlix, but they treated it as a side project, an add-on service feature. And you still needed a satellite TV subscription, paying 100 ringgit a month before you could access Astro on the Go on your mobile phone. So although they were innovative, they were not willing to disrupt their core. They still wanted to protect 100 ringgit a month and not encourage customers to switch to a 14 ringgit mobile TV subscriptions because it could affect their earnings. But when you're not willing to disrupt your core, other people like iFlix or Netflix or View or Amazon Prime will all come and disrupt you. And investors recognize this, and they saw that satellite TV is a sunset industry, and their share price, as you can see, slowly eroded, losing over 2/3 of their value. And yet at their core, despite changing CEOs and revamping their organization, they can't shake their addiction to a 100 ringgit a month satellite TV subscription. And 80% of their revenues till today still come from traditional set-top boxes and channels. Even though we all know satellite TVs are obsolete because our smartphones have more computing power than those set-top boxes. So why do we need different boxes and installers to come to our house when our phone provides more powerful on-demand connectivity to all the content that we want? And even the concept of channels are obsolete. Some of you might have grown up watching CNN or ESPN or Discovery, MTV, AXN, but today, the young millennials and Gen Z are puzzled with the concept of a channel, where a programmer tells you what time your program will be aired, since in today's live on demand, you can watch anything, anytime, and anywhere. Now, even after launching iFlix and coming up with the breakthrough idea, just like AirAsia X, things did not go according to plan. After spending over 30 million ringgit of investor money on content costs, and hardly anyone was willing to convert from a 30-day free trial to a paid subscription, even when we set the price at a very low rate of only 10 ringgit for 1 month to watch unlimited content. Because for Malaysians, if you make me pay for content, I would rather pirate it. So we had to quickly find a solution to this problem, or we're going to run out of cash quickly and go bankrupt. Now, one theory we had was that maybe people wanted to pay, but the payment options that we offered, right, by credit or debit card or via online banking transfer, are not convenient for these users, because those payment methods are not prevalent in emerging markets. Even for e-commerce back in 2015, which experienced a phenomenal growth across Southeast Asia, the most popular payment channel was actually cash on delivery. And we wanted to experiment to learn. So we tested this by offering a similar delivery service, right? We'll send a guy on a motorcycle to come to your house every month to collect the 10 ringgit fee. And it costs us more than 10 ringgit to pay the guy on the motorcycle to go collect 10 ringgit from you. But it's important for us to learn, to see, does this really work out or not? And it turns out, even when we offered that level of convenience, they still did not want to pay. So now we're in really big trouble. How do you run a business when people don't want to pay you for content? Now, by chance, I met someone randomly who recognized me on the street and said, hey, you're the iFlix guy. Thank you for bringing iFlix to Malaysia. I love it. I watch 2 to 3 hours every day. I'm on my 4th free trial. So it turns out people were watching iFlix, but they didn't like the idea of paying for TV content. So if they were given free access, they would prefer it over pirated or illegal torrent sites because it's more stable, there's no advertising, and it's got a cooler user interface. So we had to think fast. Who benefits from people watching iFlix for free? The telecommunications companies. Because in 2015, they were experiencing their own crisis, right? Maxis, Cellcom, DG, because nearly half of their revenues were disappearing. People stopped making phone calls where they had to pay for every call because you can make WhatsApp calls for free, or back then Skype. They stopped sending SMS messages. Back then, Dr. Azlina will remember, it cost 10 cents for every single message. But again, once you have WhatsApp, you can send unlimited message completely free. Now, instead of doing what other TV companies do, which is to just add advertising to raise money, that's not a good customer experience, right? Because your viewing is interrupted. So we wanted to tackle this a different way. And we convinced the first telecom company, Digi, to experiment with us. Hey, buy iFlix from us wholesale and give it to all your postpaid mobile customers for free. And then let's measure the incremental data that they consume. And as it turns out, the incremental data is worth more to DG compared to the wholesale price that they pay us. So the analogy is like, give your customers a free car and then sell them petrol. Now, I also want to share how we use advanced data analytics to really understand what shows people watch on iFlix, what time they watch, and other shows that they can watch to build predictive models. Because if we can accurately recommend a good show for the user to watch next, they're more likely to want to continue to watch on iFlix. So for example, we use topological data analysis. We can start to visually see the different segments of people who watch different types of shows. So as you can see, we can drill down not just by the type of show and look at, kind of different segments, where the distance between these two dots, each dot is a person watching a show, represents whether they are watching similar shows or not, right? And you can zoom in and you can see, not just the type of show, but what device, time of day, and other factors, right? So that we really understand the habits and be able to predict exactly what type of shows people want. So data science can be really cool and uncover fascinating insights that may seem counterintuitive to what might seem logical in terms of the types of show a person will likely watch. But what I keep telling my team though, right, is to not be afraid of failure, but be afraid of success. Success can lull us into complacency. So we need to be humble, because if an idea works, we can't rest on our laurels. We need to move on to the next thing. Because if remember when I said about launching AirAsia X, 5 years after launching, the world's first long-haul low-cost airline that became successful, Singapore Airlines, a much bigger company, launched their own version of their airline. Even iFlix, one of the key features that allowed iFlix to really scale was that we were the first company in the world to build download and watch offline. And guess what? Within a year of us launching that, the global giant Netflix immediately copied us. And so that's why I have to keep reminding my team that only advantage we have as a small startup is our speed and agility. Bigger players like Singapore Airlines and Netflix will always have more capital, an established brand, deeper distribution, and a larger customer base. And so whatever we do, they can quickly replicate it. So humility is a significantly underrated leadership trait. That's why as a startup attacker, right, when we don't have capital, we don't have the brand or distribution, when we don't have an existing customer base, the only advantage we can muster is speed, the ability to move faster and learn quicker than larger companies. So we put less emphasis on annual plans or budgets or New Year resolutions, but really focus on moving our teams based on weekly sprints, defining very clearly what needs to be done for 1 week, and then every Friday, setiap Jumaat, asking ourselves 3 questions. Number 1, what's working, right? What did we do this last week and that it's working? And let's keep doing that in the next sprint cycle. Question number 2, what's not working? Let's stop doing that and move on to something else. Because so many organizations and teams, they might even know what's not working, but why do they still do it? Because that's how they always do things. They just do it out of habit. But the third question is the most important one, which is what's new that we learn from the market, our competitors, new technology, that we're going to try at least one new thing in the next sprint cycle. Because the best, most disruptive ideas don't come from a strategy offsite or brainstorming workshops. They come from quickly trying out many new initiatives and then refining which ones show progress and abandoning those that don't have traction, and then quickly reallocating resources to new initiatives. So the best ideas come from trying 19 bad ideas and then learning from it and adapting. So in my final story, right, because iFlix subsequently was sold off to Tencent from China, I moved on to start my own venture, Naluri. Again, because we saw problems with current healthcare services, whether they are physical hospitals or even telemedicine models today to address chronic diseases and mental health. Specifically, we saw 3 problems that we want to tackle. So it's always important to start with defining the problem that you want to tackle. First, most of healthcare today is reactive and transactional. People wait until they're sick and then they go see a doctor, whether at the hospital or clinic, or maybe now book a session via a telemedicine platform. And with that consultation, the doctor may assess the patient, provide a diagnosis, maybe a prescription, and then the patient goes back home. However, this transaction model doesn't work well with chronic conditions like diabetes and heart diseases and cancer, and even mental health, depression and anxiety. You can't fix it with a single consultation visit, a single treatment or procedure. Care is needed over months and years to help the patient change their lifestyles to become healthier. But much more frequent interactions with healthcare professionals, when we move from a transactional consultation to ongoing, can become very costly and inconvenient if it requires frequent one-on-one sessions. So that's a problem we saw. We said, how do we tackle this differently? The next problem is that we saw in healthcare is that it is siloed. Healthcare is, has become so specialized. If you see a cardiologist, she's only going to focus on your heart. If you see a gastroenterologist, he's only going to focus on your gut health. So a dietitian may help you with your food, or a psychologist may help you with your mental health. But actually, these conditions are interrelated, especially chronic conditions. There are clear correlations between diabetes and depression, between heart diseases and anxiety. So we envision a model where we move from single specialist doctors to a coordinated and multidisciplinary team that supports each patient, putting the patient at the center rather than making the patient see individual specialists and having to figure out all the different aspects of health and medicine together. So how can we use technology to solve that problem? And finally, right, healthcare today is activity-based and not outcomes or result-based. Digital health apps, so many out there, tend to focus on activities, right? Like counting the number of steps that you take every day, 10,000 steps. Doesn't mean you get healthy, or the number of calories that you consume or the hours that you sleep. But these healthy activities may not actually generate health improvements. Likewise, right? Patients or the insurance company or the employers pay doctors based on time or consultation, but not on actually delivering health improvements. So we see a need for solutions that are outcomes-based, actual improvements in measurable things like how much weight loss, how much blood sugar reduction, how much blood pressure improvement, how much cholesterol reduction, and quantitative improvements in stress, in anxiety, in depression. So we imagine a future where payers and providers have aligned incentives when clinically significant health improvements are delivered and success or outcome-based fees are paid. And that will enable insurers to reprice risk more strategically at a more personalized level. Now, I started Naluri with just one single intern. and I hope maybe after today, we can have more interns join us. We ran basic experiments only using WhatsApp and PowerPoint. And we did hundreds of interviews to really understand the problems people face in getting access, especially for mental health care. Even there in the state of Sarawak, where there's an acute shortage of mental health care professionals. And today, Naluri has grown to over 100 employees. And my co-founder himself is from Kuching. So if you're willing to start and keep going, the opportunities to find new ways to improve our world is endless, limited only by your imaginations. So before I end, I want to privately invite you to write down, how are you going to finish these 3 sentences? Okay, let's think about this. Reflect on what you've learned today from my presentation. Number 1, I think, ... How has that made you think right now? What are you thinking? I think, ... The second question, I feel, ... Write it down. What has this made you feel? Think about it, feel something. And finally, I will, ... What are you going to do after this? Right after this or tomorrow, but don't wait next week or don't wait next month, but think about one thing that you're going to do. Because the final element in that THINK resilience framework is knowing your goals. Because when you set a clear goal, nothing can stop you. But you got to start now, not tomorrow. Okay? So with that, I want to thank you for your attention and focus. And hopefully you now have some ideas on how to build mental resilience and tenacity to deal with the inevitable surprises and challenges and obstacles in your battles ahead, knowing that you have it in you to charge through all of them and achieve your goals. So all the best, the future of Sarawak. Thank you very much. And I look forward to any questions, any comments, and get you excited and pumped up for the rest of the day. Thank you, and back to you.
Wow, what a fruitful session with our distinguished keynote speaker, Mr. Azran Osman Rani. Well, 45 minutes feels like 4.5 minutes to us here. Mr. Azran, thank you very much once again. And you know, so we are huge fans of your leadership, determination, and also your creative minds at work. So actually, it's not easy for us to let you go just yet, okay?
Sure.
So we have come to our Q&A session as we have picked up a couple of questions from our interns. So first up, okay, This is very interesting. It's a simple one, but yet very meaningful, especially to the interns, definitely. So what inspires you to be a successful entrepreneur, Mr. Azran?
Wow. Okay. Well, so I never set myself up to be an entrepreneur. My first 10 years working was in a very corporate setting. But what I'm obsessed about are problems. And I think it's very important for entrepreneurs to not think that I want to start a business because I want to be my own boss. I want to make a lot of money. I want to be in control of my time. Let me tell you, the one thing I can guarantee is that when you start your business, you have no control of your time. You are not the boss because you have to do everything from cleaning the toilets to doing everything, because remember, there's no one else. And, you know, it's very financially risky. So having the right motivation is very important. And I think the right motivation is not necessarily to have a good idea, because as I've shown, every idea that I started all failed, right? Because there were problems that happened that we simply could not anticipate. But if you define the right problem, and you're so obsessed about that problem because you cannot sleep, you're in the shower every day, you're always thinking about the problem, and be willing to keep experimenting and try. This doesn't work, I'm going to try next thing. This doesn't work, I'm going to try next thing. 19 bad ideas before the final 20th idea opens up a new opportunity. If that's the kind of thing that gets you excited, then the entrepreneurship journey is the right one for you.
Wow, amazing. Okay, so now, second one. So how significant are digital literacy and soft skills in today's job market, Mr. Azran?
Wow, it's incredibly important because digital no longer exists as a separate industry. Every industry is being digitized, even palm oil plantations and fisheries, right? Because, data enables us to do things in ways that we never ever imagined. Now, when I started Naluri, for example, I was privileged because we were selected to join a technology accelerator program in the Silicon Valley, where I got to go there to the Bay Area and learn also from other startups, more experienced entrepreneurs. And, one of them, for example, was building new technology to measure how a particular plant, not using any electronics, but using the cells in the plant's leaves and in the roots to measure exactly how much water, how much sunlight, how much nutrients, and be able to optimize the growth of the plant. So all the ideas that are coming out today are incredibly fascinating. And that's why I think when we kind of learn digital skills, right, it opens up so many new opportunities ahead of us. So it's a really exciting world out there. And just remember this, things have never moved as fast as it's ever been. It's the fastest it's been moving in the whole entire history of humanity. But today will be the slowest day going forward because it's only going to get faster. It's only going to accelerate more. So it's really up to us to grab those opportunities and race ahead.
Okay, now, so I pick up the questions from Mr. Dohadi Marzuki. He's one of our virtual guests joining us today. So his question is, do you agree that most effective medicine in helping the recovery of the spirit is positive mindset and desire instinct, meaning instinct will communicate with the mind, eventually making things happen? What you say?
Absolutely. In fact, the reason why we named our company Naluri is because Naluri means instinct, right? You want health to be instinctive. For example, today when people talk about COVID-19 and whether, one vaccine is better than the other, actually our immune system will make a bigger difference to whether the vaccine is successful or not. And our immune system can be affected by the amount of stress, the amount of sleep, right? When we're stressed out, our blood sugar rises. So our ability, as I said, to be resilient is to realize I can't control what happens to me, but I can control how I respond to it. I can look at stress as, who do I blame? Or I look at stress as it's gearing me up for an action. And when you can control that mindset, that you don't allow external factors to affect how you feel, but you take on it as a challenge, then your body starts to become more adept. And that is why, if you think about it, why are some people excited about, roller coaster rides or skydiving, while other people are deathly afraid of the same thing? It's the same thing. But how we look at it can literally change our physical health.
Well, brilliant answers. So we enjoy your sharing and inspiration to us here in Sarawak. Mr. Azran Osman Rani, thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. And we appreciate it. We hope to see you again. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. And yes, that was a live talk from Kuala Lumpur with the topic, The Future of Works, Courage, Curiosity, and Resilience by Mr. Azran Osman Rani, who joined us via Zoom platform. Our virtual guests, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoy your time with us so far, and we have more for you after this. So please stay with us until the end of our ceremony. And right now, we take a break and let's lend our attention to the screen. We have the presentation of corporate videos of the collaborative agency. So please enjoy.
Sayangku, kebanggaanku selalu amanah bersamanya Sarawakku, rakyat bersatu. sanggup berkorban untuk Sarawak. Mari raungkan bersama. Membara di dalam jiwa. Inilah negeriku, tanah tumpah darahku. Sama-sama kita jaga Sarawak. Sarawak sayangku, kebanggaanku selalu, aman mampu selamanya Sarawakku. Rakyat bersatu padu, pemimpin mengambil tahu, menuju maju Sarawak maju. Kita anak Sarawak, sama belah minggu Sarawak. Kita sayang ke Sarawak, sanggup bergadai dan ke Sarawak. Mari laungkan bersama. Membara di dalam jiwa. Inilah negeriku, tanah tumpah darahku. Sama-sama kita jaga Sarawak. Sama-sama kita jaga Sarawak.
digital economy is a global economy. And I'm sure all Sarawakians aspire to progress and take our rightful place in the global market. But it requires us to transform across all sectors.
Every day, every hour. We are obliged to make a difference. To set directions, to empower people. To deliver promises. To make connections. To explore new ideas. To grow salaries. To provide world-class service. To find solutions. To support others. To execute vision and missions. To look ahead and to reach greater success. Because we believe in one thing. If we grow the leaders of today, we will accomplish the idea of tomorrow.
Leadership development is an investment. It demands a process that drives timely learning intervention, assessment of application, evaluation of impact, and deployment of coaching to fine-tune performance, which needs to be sustained in order to achieve the intended outcome.
Every action, with every decision. We are here to grow the culture of excellence, to build a better state of Sarawak.
yang penugang positif. So I have to do my, tapi now okay lah, negatif. Huh? Oh, okay. Huh? Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam Sarawak kusayang. Greetings to everyone. Welcome back to the virtual launching ceremony of Graduates Enhancement Training Sarawak, or GATS 4.0 program, hosted by Sarawak Center of Performance Excellence Scope in collaboration with State Human Resource Unit of Chief Minister's Department and Leadership Institute of Civil Service. And we are now live from the Chief Minister's Office, Wisma Bapa Malaysia, Kuching, Sarawak. Ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed delighted to have our guest of honor, the Right Honourable Datuk Patinggi Dr. Abang Haji Abdul Rahman Zohari, Bintun Datuk Abang Haji Openg, Chief Minister of Sarawak, who are here with us today at this meaningful occasion dedicated to our guests interns. And joining us here at the Chief Minister's Office as well, they are the Honourable Datuk Amar Jaul Samion, Sarawak State Secretary, Yang berbahagia Datuk Dr. Wan Lizosman Wan Omar, Sarawak State Financial Secretary, Berbahagia Datuk Dr. Sabariah Putit, Deputy State Secretary, Performance and Service Delivery Transformation and Chairperson of Scope. And also joining us via Zoom platform, we have the Honourable Ministers, the Honourable Assistant Ministers, the Honourable Member of Parliament and State Assemblyman of Sarawak, our distinguished guests, residents, heads of department, GATS 4.0 partners, GATS 4.0 interns, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, as been mentioned by the Honourable Sarawak State Secretary in his welcoming remarks earlier, the main purpose of GATS 4.0 launching is to promote this 12 months internship program to all graduates from both STEM and non-STEM background. And since 2018, a total of 279 GATS interns has been employed by various government agencies, GLCs, and private sectors in Sarawak. Congratulations to our GATS interns. Ladies and gentlemen, and now we have come to another highlights for today's ceremony. That is the speech by our guest of honor. Thus, without further ado, please join me in welcoming the Right Honourable Datuk Patinggi Dr. Abang Haji Abdul Rahman Zohari, Bintun Datuk Abang Haji Openg, Chief Minister of Sarawak, to present his speech and later to officiate GATS 4.0 program. Dengan segala hormatnya, dipersilakan.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yang berhormat rakan-rakan menteri, yang berhormat Saudara Datuk Amar Jaul Samion, Setiausaha Kerajaan Negeri, yang berbahagia Datuk Dr. Sabariah Putit, Timbalan Setiausaha Kerajaan Negeri Sarawak, dan juga pengerusi skop. Seterusnya ahli-ahli yang berhormat, saudara-saudari yang saya hormati sekalian. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to this Graduate Enhancement Training Sarawak, or in short, GATS program. I would like to thank everyone, to all the participants of this event, either attending physically or virtually on social media platforms. My sincere appreciation to the organizing committee from the Sarawak Center of Performance Excellence Scope, Leadership Institute and the State Human Resource Unit, as well as the respective state agencies and GATS partners who made this hybrid event to fruition today. Thank God, Alhamdulillah, despite the COVID-19 challenges time, we are able to gather and meet here today to officiate the GATS 4.0 program, along with, I understand, 300 of our graduates throughout the state joining us on live streaming. Therefore, this event today marks our recognition of our young local graduates' academic achievements, diversity, talents, and socio-economic contribution throughout the state. Looking back, the initial first generation GATS program began in 1918 and is still ongoing initiative for the past 3 years due to the increasing demand of new workforce. However, ever since the year 2020, the program rightly has been rebranded as GATS 4.0. In order to be more structured and adapt to the fourth industry revolution IR 4.0 approach to further enhance the talent development agenda of our youth in Sarawak. This is in line, this branding is in line with our digital competencies upskilling initiative in the pursuit of to meet our objectives of our digital economy agenda 2022. The post-COVID development strategy 2030 also emphasize on human capital. I have often said that data is an increasingly valuable economic commodity in both the public and private sector to drive economic growth. Therefore, incorporating the IR 4.0 knowledge model means enterprises in Sarawak would need to expand their value creation capabilities and reshape business models, especially in this tough pandemic environment. I have recently launched the post-COVID-19 Development Strategy 2030, or in short, PCDS 2030, which is a long-term realignment strategy that focuses on the state's overall socio-economic development through equitable distribution of wealth via jobs and creation of business opportunities. We have to realign the state's economic direction in order to stay on track to achieve the vision of becoming a developed and high-income economy by 2030. In the context of capital and talent development, PCDS has incorporated human capital and talent development in its 7-point agenda as we anticipate the creation of 195,000 high-paying jobs in order to generate a total employment of 1.5 million by the year 2030. Therefore, today I would like to urge all our young Sarawakians, especially our graduates with us today, to see the vast opportunities of Sarawak's digitalization agenda. Towards this end, I believe GATS 4.0 plays an important role in cultivating digital leaders and instilling the culture of embracing the ever-advancing digital technology and solutions, and always seeking ways to imbue them in our work processes. For example, The LASIS system of the Land and Survey Department have provided solutions to enhance the service of the department. Thanks to the quickness of people in the Land and Survey to see the potential of IT solutions. I am glad that the GATS 4.0 program has been designed with a special focus on digital competencies such as data analytics and problem-solving skills through on-the-job trainings. Actually, I term it as applied technology. We have to continue to invest in developing our own digital, technical, and creative talents in our endeavor to attain Industry Revolution 4.0 status. In addition to digital skill, there is a strong demand for soft skills, such as project management, decision-making, critical thinking, communication, design thinking, and negotiating, which will empower people to equip with the competencies of the digital revolution in order to create a workforce fit for a digital future. Ladies and gentlemen, in the wake of the pandemic, workers around the world have adapted to the practices of working from home. This trend has become prevalent across the globe, and it is predicted that it is a new work culture which will stay even after the world recovers from the pandemic. It is a work culture that has incorporated flexibility, and employees in many countries, and according to a study, are hoping it will continue in the post-COVID world. The evolution of this new work culture also means employers have to adopt hybrid work arrangement and provide the flexibility for employees to work anywhere and at any time. As such, companies with strict and clear protocols for on-site and remote working are likely to retain and attract better digital talents among our young people in the long run. I foresee that the culture of working from home and having a flexible work schedule will still be the most viable and safest option, at least during the endemic stage of COVID-19. Therefore, organizations need to provide more training around technology to help their employees improve their skill to adapt to the new working environment while maintaining productivity. The Sarawak Post-COVID-19 Development Strategy 2030 vision is indeed an ambitious plan which has been thoughtfully articulated with specific deliverables and output. Certainly, to achieve all agenda under PCDS 2030 will not be an easy task. However, I believe that with perseverance and our anak Sarawak spirit of Agi Hidup Agi Ngelaban among our young people, we can and will achieve our dreams to be a fully developed state by 2030. Finally, I must express my appreciation to Datuk ABDUL Samion, our State Secretary, Datuk Dr. Sabiah Putih, Deputy State Secretary and Scope Chairperson, the GATS interns and strategic partners, respective ministries and government agencies, as well as government-linked companies and private sectors who have worked very hard and contributed to the state digital economy journey thus far. With this remark, I now have the pleasure to officially launch GATS 4.0 program and wish all the local graduates the very best in their undertaking as they begin their career path towards the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to our guest of honor, the Right Honourable Chief Minister of Sarawak. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the symbolic launching of GATS 4.0 program. It is now with great honor and pleasure to invite the Right Honourable Chief Minister of Sarawak to please activate the GATS journey by pointing the laser light onto the screen. Yes, the laser pointer is right on the table. The Right Honourable Chief Minister of Sarawak.
No, laser.
Dengan segala hormatnya, Yang Amat Berhormat Ketua Menteri Sarawak, dipersilakan.
Okay. They have to do that. Go.
When I first came to it, I realized that this program itself is very well thought out. It's such a detailed program.
I'm currently assigned under the Unit of Corporate Communication and Customer Service. Being an intern, you need to change how you do things. I try and learn something new. Time management, ability to adapt with the environment, the changes that happen in my service from the experience that I have gained here. You love the job, it will make you to be more prepared in order to complete the task. Now I'm confident and I can do whatever task given to me with a minimal supervision.
Through my internship, I also learned new technological skills that is needed in today's corporate world. We have our own system, which is the Fresh Desk. I will actually extract the data and convert it to Excel and convert it to a graph to have a better visual presentation to our higher management.
Think about GATS 4.0 program. This program is very good as it gives opportunity to our fresh grad to gain experience, especially from public sector and private sector. I hope that this program can be continued in order to give chance to our fellow Sarawakian, especially those who will graduate in future.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It is now official GATS 4.0 program officiated by the Right Honourable Chief Minister of Sarawak. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, next is the GATS Excellence Awards virtual presentation in conjunction with today's ceremony. This is to highlight GATS interns' outstanding performance with their on-the-job attachment and also their commitment as volunteers at the vaccination centres throughout Sarawak. First, ladies and gentlemen, we have our GATS Excellence Awards recipients joining us via Zoom. First recipient is Afika Wadi'iyah Abdul Mu'in. Ladies and gentlemen, Afika Wadi'iyah Abdul Mu'in is doing her internship at Bintulu Resident Office. Started on the 4th of January this year. She is majoring in agricultural science, graduated from University Malaysia, Sabah. Congratulations to Afika, our first recipients of GATS Excellence Awards 2021. Our next recipient, also joining us via Zoom platform, is Arif Akmal bin Arnasron. Started his internship on the 2nd of December 2020 at Centex Commercial Center. He is major in resource chemistry from University Malaysia, Sarawak. Congratulations, Arif Akmal. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have our recipients of GATS Excellence Awards joining us from Scope Office, and they are Maria Anak Kalok, doing her internship at Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Sarawak, starting from the 11th of January 2021, majoring in Communication Studies from UNIMAS. Next, may we invite Lawrence Gunn C. Sien, doing his internship at Deputy State Secretary Office at the Rural Transformation, started internship on the 20th of January 2021, Master of Business Administration, graduated from University Malaysia, Sarawak. And last but not least, we have Russell Reed, anak Boniface Alin. Russell doing his internship at Majlis Bandar Kuching Selatan, started internship on 12th of February 2021, graduated from UITM Kota Semarahan in Office Systems Management. Ladies and gentlemen, please another big round of applause and congratulations to GATS Excellent Awards recipients. Ladies and gentlemen, now may we have all 5 recipients of GATS Excellence Award recipients to get ready with our screen photo session, okay, with our guest of honor and our distinguished guests right now. Yes, please. Can we do that? All right, everyone, please smile. And this is going to be a perfect photo session. Though virtually, ladies and gentlemen, it is very meaningful, especially to the recipients, with our guest of honor, the Right Honourable Chief Minister of Sarawak, and the rest of distinguished guests. There you have it. Once again, congratulations to all recipients and thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as a gesture of appreciation and gratitude to our guest of honor, we have a souvenir presentation for this. May we invite Yang Berbahagia Deputy State Secretary and Chairperson of Scope to present these souvenirs to the Right Honourable Chief Minister of Sarawak. Dengan segala hormatnya, dipersilakan.
Okay, betul. Oh, ada lagi. Thank you. Thank you.
There you have it. Thank you very much. And yes, another photo session, all right, virtually together with all guests for joining us via Zoom platform. So to all our virtual guests, please get ready, okay? another photo session with our guest of honor, the Right Honourable Chief Minister of Sarawak, together with our distinguished guests here at the Chief Minister's office. Definitely another meaningful session with our guest of honor, dedicated to our guests in turn. So another photo session. All smile on the screen. Yes. Lambe-lambe sikit juga to our virtual guests. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, another round of photo session. May we have everyone to please thumbs up. Okay, everyone thumbs up, please. Yes. Everyone thumbs up.
Thank you.
Okay, so all good? Sebuah kacak-kacak dah, huh? Alhamdulillah. So thank you very much to everyone. Our special thanks dedicated to our guest of honor, the Right Honourable Chief Minister of Sarawak, for his gracious presence and your support, sir. Thank you very much once again to our distinguished guests. And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. It is indeed an honor for me and for us here, all scope and everyone, to be part of today's occasion. My name is Sharifah Farah binti Wataha. Signing off for now. Stay safe, stay healthy. Until then, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Salam Sarawak Kusai. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Bob.